Alright, so in 7-1, we're going to talk about how to sort an array. Okay, so we're going to write an application to create an like GUI, like for graphic user interface to pop up for a student to enter 10 different numbers, and then you can hit sort button. It's going to sort and return the output that's sorted for you. Alright, so let's look at what we want to get the final product look like. Okay, so first we need to create a GUI, right? So GUI, from console, you can just prompt the user to enter 10 numbers, right? And then you put in a logic, and and it's going to sort for you. Which, let me run the application. This is the source code for the JavaFXGUI, and that's a GUI, right? So I can put like different number here, and I'm going to hit submit. So before sort is take in, right, 48, 45, 21, 2, and so on up to 4. And then after sort, it just sort that numbers for me. So that is the final product that we want to see, okay, on the 7-1. Now let's talk about how do we do this. Okay. So first, we need to pretty much just create, right, an application. So in 7-1, I first start with review arrays. You declare an array, right? This is one way to initialize the values to array using the brackets, right? And to get the values out, you just need to iterate through it, right? So using I, so if you run this program, so you're going to see it's going to return the information of the array car, iPhone, Xbox, Netflix, right? Wish list. That's the name of the array. And we use the loop to access to it. So same thing. That means when we want to write an application, we want user to enter different number and store into array, right? If we can store them to array, then we can put the logic to sort an array. And I have the logic to sort like here, right? So let's talk about the sort logic, right? Real quick. So sorting, we have the complete video on sorting too. Okay, it's going to go step by step in that videos. You can watch. Okay, so it's right here, right? Part 1 and part 2. Okay, but now I'm going to just go over. So once I get an input from the user, I'm going to call sort array. All right, sort array. So let's talk about that here. All right, so I'm going to create a new class and use sort array. So new class, I'm going to get the input from the user from the console. Okay, so let's say from the console here. So console, I use the scanner. So I'm going to say console, right? Sort. Okay, console. So I'm going to have main. So I'm going to use scanner, which is, okay, keyboard equals to new scanner system.in. And now we going to import this scanner in. So we get a scanner. How do we read in input from the user keyboard? We can say keyboard.next. If it's string, if user enter string, right? So next is going to end every space. So that means once I read it in, I can store into array. I show you how to declare an array. So I'm going to declare an array, right, of the numbers. So I'm going to say, if it's string, I would say string numbers, right? Here I read in as string, but array we use these square brackets. right? So we declare an array of numbers equal to new string, right? Now this one you have to give the size, so I want to have 10 numbers, right? So it's a good idea just to use the constant like for the size, okay? So and give it to 10, and then I'm going to, why we want to do that? When you want to change the size, you just go to the size and change over there. You don't have to worry about inside your program with the numbers. So now, and it's make your code easier to read. You understand, oh, that's the size of your array instead of what's 10. We're going to read from the keyboard. We can, like I said, if we want to keep reading all the numbers, how do we read in all the numbers? You say next is going to read into the space. So you have to prompt the user to enter, right? Enter 10 numbers, something like that, right? Enter. Like here, I'm going to say size instead, because we can always change the size. It can be more than 10, so it's just go there in one place and change over there, right? Enter, and we say numbers. Now user is going to see that message. Now you have to tell the user if you want the user to separate by commas or space or anything, right? Separated by space. All right, so if we do that, user start to enter and separate it by space. All right, so now when we do read it in, we have to store it into numbers, right? Which, how do we refer to each array? We have to specify index, and we have 10 of them. We can use loop to help. We declare index start from 0, right? And as long as the index less than the size, which we can do numbers dot length, give you the size which is 10, right? And then we just increment your index with I, then it's going to read and store those 10 numbers into the numbers array, right? Now we want to verify that it's properly doing that, so I'm going to create another loop here. This loop pretty much just walk through the array and display it out, right? To see that each array contains is the number that user input in. So this is just to test to see if it's working. Okay, enter 10 numbers separate by space. So I'm going to start to enter that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so we print line, so it's read back in while entered, so it works as expected, right? So now we able to read the user input, right? But this one is from console. So now let's talk about how to read the user input from GUI. So we can use this JavaFX. So let's talk about that. So now if I want to create a new class, right? So new class, this is going to name sort, okay, sort GUI. So with a graphic user interface. So if we're using JavaFX, so we do extends application first, and then we need to pretty much just import, right? Import the application, right click, and let's see if it's application, so application, so it with S. So we need to fix the project setup to support the JavaFX. We're looking for JavaFX. There you go. Actually, it's no S application. So now we need to add an implemented method, which is the start. So in JavaFX, you need to say launch, right? when you implement in ArcGIS, when you implement in like Eclipse. So this one start primary stage. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to create a GUI to take in input here. Right, so GUI, we dealing with stage and scene. Right, stage is the windows. Like if I run this application now, you see the windows, right? If I make it to show, so I need to make sure that primary stage dot show, right? So let's run again. There you go. So that's a window. That's stage, right? Its instance name is primary stage. Now we need a scene. So scene is something to put on the stage, right? I'm going to name scene equals to new scene, which you need to import scene. And scene required to give the layout, like when you look at a stage like itself, look at like this one window, you have to have layout. This is the navigation window, these are tabs, like organizing the object, right? So there are many layout, right? So that we can use. So we can use like flow layout, like add item like that as a flow, left to right. We can use grid layout. If I use grid layout, so I'm going to name grid layout equals to new grid layout. So grid layout is just like a grid like table. I'm going to import. Make sure you have the right one, because in JavaFX grid layout we learn about AWT. That's not for JavaFX, right? Swing, that's for swing. So in JavaFX it's not calling grid layout then, right? So it's calling something else. So in JavaFX it's actually called grid pane. So grid layout is for swing, but it's the same concept. You create a table with a grid. So we import grid pane, and this scene is relying on the layout, which is grid layout. I should just name grid pane since it's for JavaFX. Alright, so we get a grid pane. Now, how to use this? The reason we're constructing here is, like I said, if I run the application now, you may not see the difference, because I didn't put a scene on the primary stage yet. Alright, so I need to set a scene. I put a grid pane layout to the scene, but I need to put a scene on the primary stage. So I need to say primary stage dot set So I need to set the scene right there and pass the scene. Right, and let's run again. You still see blank. Why? Because I didn't put anything on the scene yet. I only put the layout, but I need to add the object to the scene. So let's start to create object, which is all the text fields that we need, right? So in JavaFX we call text field, right? So text field, like for the user to enter the numbers, right? Equals to new text field. And of course you need to import text field. Right click, import. Now I'm going to add text field into the grid pane, right? That's the layout. So grid pane dot. So how do we add? We have to get children first and then dot add. That's the syntax to add. And then we add text field. Now let's run and see if we see text field. So that's it. It's going to be on the scene.